Is Ontario expensive for initial stay? Okay. Now, you need to understand Ontario is huge. Huge means huge. So, for example, if you start at one corner of Ontario, if you go by road 24 hours in one direction, you will probably still be in Ontario. That's how big it is. And I'm talking about driving, So, which part of Ontario is the critical understanding? I personally feel Alberta to be much more reasonable in terms of cost of living, and a lot of people are moving. And I know that because my eldest son lives in Alberta. He's in Calgary, and he doesn't want to move to Ontario. He thinks it's so much more better in Calgary in terms of the cost of living and in terms of the way life is. So, and it is so much smaller city whereby you can get from point A to point B without any problems. So yeah, again, depends on where you would want to be. In Ontario, is it expensive to start with? Well, yes, of course, Ontario is. When I'm saying Ontario, I'm talking about Toronto GTA, because that is where most of the people tend to come to. So Toronto GTA is definitely expensive, no doubt about it. Comparatively, the real estate is going bonkers. I do not know where and how people are meeting up with those real estate prices, but it's going bonkers. So your initial expense of staying in Canada, it again depends, where you're coming from and what your expectation is, and what you want from your initial period of stay. I would say do a comparative research. Obviously, Vancouver is equally expensive, if not more. So do your initial research. See where you eventually want to settle down. See how much you're willing to pay per night, and then make that judgment call as to where you would want to live. Because in your initial period of stay in Canada, you want to be mobile. You want to be, because you may not have a car, right? So you will not be able to drive, and Canada lacks that infrastructure in terms of public transport. It's really bad in terms of you having to get from point A to point B if you do not have a car. So you want to probably look at living in a place which is well connected, so that you can get all your things done. If you have to go for interviews, if you have to go meet people, if you have to get your processing in terms of your SIN number and your bank accounts and your thing done. So you want to be living in a place which is connected easily with other areas. So do that for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even 4 weeks, till you settle down, till you get comfortable with the place, till you know your way around, till you know what you want to do, where exactly you want to move. Because in that initial period of 2 to 4 weeks, you will also be able to identify which are your more desirable areas in terms of, if you have children, then schools, in terms of job locations, in terms of, again, community support. So that will then give you a better springboard to then decide and move forward to. What are your thoughts on rising house prices in Ontario? Do you think it will burst or get worse with time? Surprisingly, I had the same discussion with my other RCIC, who's also part of our team, Mohammed. He's also a realtor, and a very good one at that. And when the COVID hit, and I told him that this housing prices are going to crash, and he said no, they will not crash. And I said, well, with COVID, people do not have jobs. People don't have money, the savings are going through the roof, savings are going out of the roof, are getting all, drained out. So how will they afford the houses, and where will they pay for? But he said, well, it's going to take a short dip and it's going to come up. And he was right, I was wrong. The prices obviously took a small dip initially during, COVID, the first few months. And from there on, they just shot up like this. There is no end to the way the prices are going up. They're going bonkers. And they haven't stopped going bonkers. And even now, as we are seeing what is happening, and every time we think that the prices are going to crash, but there is nothing in sight which will suggest that. Even now, the latest reports that are coming from the financial institutions, they all indicate a 15 to 20% increase in prices moving forward. So yeah, that's something which is scary, but that's what is happening. I do not know if it is a bubble or if it is not. Lakshmi says, how much time does it take to buy your own house in Canada? Okay, good question. It's variable. And it's variable because it depends on your income, and it depends on the amount of money you have that you can make a down payment with. Now, because you're a new immigrant, if you were coming to Canada as a new immigrant, you will have some first time home buyer advantages and benefit. But one of the biggest factor in assessing whether you will be approved for a mortgage that is if at all you are looking to take a mortgage, and if you do not have that kind of money, would be your credit score. And it takes time to build a good credit score. There are lots of videos, there are lots of publications and articles and blogs which tell you what is a good practice to follow if you want to make a, have a good credit score. But expect at least 6 to 12 months on an average by which you will have a decent credit score. Not to mention that you will have a reasonable job which would support your application for mortgage, because obviously you need to be paying. And as long as you are willing to make a larger down payment towards your house, the easier it's going to be. The less amount of down payment you want to pay, the more difficult it's going to be to get an approval for your mortgage. Again, criteria is depending on your income and in your credit score. But if you are willing to put up at least 20 to 35% of down payment, I think it's always going to be so much more easier to get the mortgage and to get the approvals done. And the current prices in Canada, in Toronto GTA area, and you have to start with if you're looking for a house, you're starting at nearly $1 million. Yeah. And I'm being very, very conservative with my number. Yeah, that's probably the figure you're looking at. So if you probably have anywhere between the range of $200,000 to $350,000 to put up a down payment with, you will find the mortgage getting approved quite smoothly and quickly, versus you wanting to pay only 5% or 10% of the down payment, and then you would need to satisfy the other requirements. So that could take you that much more longer. Right, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for joining in. We will do this again. This was fun, like talking just non-immigration stuff, right? Thank you, and I shall see you next time. Bye-bye.